Hello, everybody, and welcome to Non Sequitur News. This is a time machine episode. I am Mayor Watt. I run ohmtown.com. That's where all the news is aggregated. Today is April 23rd, 2025. It's season 4, episode 113. We're going to be talking about, and it's just me today, time machine. Artificial intelligence is otherwise occupied. Sometimes the singularity doesn't allow the quantum teleportation to take place in the time machine, so they're stuck back in the past or in the future. They can't come back to do the time machine episode. Pardon me. I'm sorry for the cough. That caught me off guard. Sorry for the scratchy throat. Today we're going to be talking about a faked death after gambling $4 million cybersecurity startup without an office. This Idaho restaurant Steam to list more features. Me coughing. Non-toxic alternative to forever chemicals. Bury that nuclear waste permanently to the core of D&D. Vegas Airport fixes issues of risk. And startups for first accelerator program in Seattle. And finally, we're going to talk about a movie about Toys R Us. Sure. Why not? Well, everything is powered by ohmtown.com, so go over and become a citizen. All right, everybody, let's get into this. The very first article, and I'm going to go through this really quick today. It'll be posted over in the podcast. There's 7 different podcasts, 6 of which are weekly, 1 is daily. That's this show, Non Sequitur News. Let's get going. First article is over in Rounders Gear, which is all about table gaming. And not like role-playing games. It's like poker. Florida woman who faked her death after gambling stolen $4 million gets 10 years. A remote worker stole more than $4 million from an employer, faked death to evade detection, and then sentenced to 10 years in federal prison once they're caught. The article is over at casino.org. Philip Conneller put the article together. Essentially, the person was in charge of placing orders with vendors and managing shipping, invoicing, and inventory for the company, which was originally based in New York before going fully remote in 2019, according to the prosecutors. The fake invoice scheme ran from 2018 to 2024. Bogus suppliers included a shell company named Cape Prince, which Hernandez created in August of 2019. She used the money that she stole on personal expenses and for gambling. So the article says fake death after gambling stolen $4 million, but I don't know how much they actually ended up gambling away versus personal stuff. So the company contacted police, sparking an investigation. Because facing investigation, Hernandez sent in a message to her employee posing as a relative, claiming that she had died due to complications from surgery. With proof of documents and stuff like that being revealed that June. And so the company contacted police, sparking an investigation by the FBI and the IRS's Criminal Investigation Division, which led to the execution of a search warrant on Hernandez's, the fake dead person. So lo and behold, they were found alive and kicking, so to speak. During questioning, she admitted to faking her own death and embezzling from her employer. I don't know how people would... Why do people think that they're going to get away with this? It's just never going to happen. But thought it was interesting to talk about. Let's keep going. This next article is over in Technology Today. ChainGuard doesn't have an office. Here's how the $3.5 billion cybersecurity startup makes remote work. ChainGuard has more than 350 employees, just raised $356 million at a valuation of $3.5 billion, and has 0 physical offices. The 4-year-old cybersecurity company is a case study in scaling an early-stage startup without investing in office space. They say for them, it's practical. Particularly in cybersecurity, you can just tunnel into somebody's security operations center infrastructure, and then from there, but you have to be skilled in the art of all things cybersecurity. So Taylor Soper over at geekwire.com, which focuses on the the Northwest area, the Pacific Northwest, specifically Seattle, even more so. But ChainGuard is an outlier among its peers. Just 5% of U.S. companies are fully remote, according to a Q4 report from Flex Index, which we'll probably have to start paying attention to. Many employers have brought workers back to the office after the pandemic-fueled shift to remote work, largely because apparently you can't work unless you can't actually produce any actual product or service unless you are being monitored all the time from head to toe, and they have to know what your colonoscopy results are. The hiring advantage is touted by other companies with flexible work policies, including Seattle-based real estate giant Zillow. We can hire people wherever they are, they say. For what we do, there's a lot of niche knowledge they need for different types of open source and different programming languages and different ecosystems. Being able to tap into that talent whenever or wherever it is hugely beneficial to us. ChainGuard provides employees a monthly stipend for co-working space fees along with phone and internet costs. It also offers $1,750 to set up a home office, which may or may not be a lot, depending on what you need. Laura Rank, who is in Rhode Island, also hosts a weekly Ask Me Anything session with the full team. Each session is themed around a core company value. During customer obsessed weeks, for example, ChainGuard invites a customer to share their experience. I think that this is brilliant. It says Seattle startup StatSig, for example, sets a 5 days per week in office policy when it launched in 2021. Other fast-growing startups have found their own success with a completely different approach. Some people want to be in-house. Some people don't really care. And I am one of those who don't really care where a person is as long as they are producing. If they don't show up as a security risk and they're actually producing product or service based on my need, then I don't care where they are. And I'm all for it because I believe in work-life balance. Get the job done. I don't care where you are when you do it. Just don't expose customer or corporate information to the outside world. Let's keep moving. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. An Idaho restaurant put employee well-being first, and it paid off. So this Boise-based restaurant in 2020 opened. Kin is an Idaho pre-fee restaurant with a work culture rooted in collaboration and equality. The company or the business, owned by Chris Komori and Remy McManus, offers salaries to all full-time staff. This article is part of a made-to-order series highlighting a business strategy driving today's food industry. I'm interested in all things startup and strategic management. And so Juliana Garacino put the article together over at businessinsider.com. And so Kin's having 5 or more staff members work together to brainstorm a tasting menu, divide up the cooking, and gather ingredients may seem like a recipe for disaster, but Chris Komori and Remy McManus, the co-owners of Kin, don't mind the challenge. Collaboration is integral to the restaurant, even if it requires some trial and error. It says we don't really have general managers and things like that. So the mindset even extends to how Komori and McManus tackle payroll and prioritize pay equality. The owners offer full-time staff a salary with benefits like paid time off and health benefits. This differs from the typical restaurant model, which has some staff receive the minimum wage for tipped workers, many relying on optional gratuities. Well, it says their efforts paid off. In 2023, Komori won a James Beard Award, and in 2024, Food and Wine listed them as one of the top 20 restaurants in the country. Now, that might just be wholesale, their culture, quality, etc. Not necessarily something about kind of what this says here. It says restaurant put employee well-being first. But overall, if you have happy employees, then they're going to relate that into happy customers. I wholeheartedly believe in that. So for years in the restaurant business, there's been a big discrepancy in pay, especially from the front and back of the house. Remy McManus says that they try to develop equality through equal pay for all staff members. Their goals have always been to develop more professionalism in the industry in Idaho and provide their staff and community with more than they used to at their previous restaurant, State and Limp. That said, I just had a conversation today about the idea of salary, and that, like in California, because of a connection between the CEO of Panera and the governor of California, there seems to be this carve out for anybody who makes bread, but others don't actually get that benefit. We talked about it here, and I don't know what their end game of that is. I don't know where that actually landed ultimately. I just thought it was interesting to talk about, but let's keep on going. This next article is over in Warcrafters. Steam's going to start listing adjustable difficulty, save anytime, and other accessibility features right on the game's store page soon. Other accessibility features, I don't know about the adjusting difficulty and save anytime as accessibility features. That's parlance in a particular way. But I think quality of life features, I would say. It feels like video games are getting better at realizing that, a whole load of different people play video games these days. Pretty much any modern release will run you through a set of accessibility options the first time you launch it. And those options usually seem pretty expansive, at least to the author of this article. Speaking of that, the author is Joshua Wollens over at PCGamer.com. The deck statement says, people should probably know if they can play a game before they buy it. And Steam pretty much does that because you get a certain number of hours and or a time period, whichever comes first, in terms of being able to play it, test it out, and essentially you can return it. In fact, they don't seem to frown upon the idea of buying something, and if the price drops while you in that time frame, you can return it and buy it right back at the lower price, and they're supposedly not really bent out of shape about it. I buy into that. That sounds great to me. That said, it says the problem, of course, is that if you need a particular accessibility option in one of the thousands of games on Steam that hasn't gotten a detailed accessibility review, there's often no way to find out in the store other than buying it. So why not buy it and then just return it? They really don't have a problem with it. There was one time where I was returning a lot of stuff because I had bought a lot of stuff, and they basically challenged me, saying that you're abusing the return system. And to me, I just kind of ignored it because that exactly is what the return program is all about. If you don't like it, it enumerated that you don't like it. You think the game sucks. Return it. And you don't have to. I think it's asinine to sit there and accuse somebody of essentially abusing a return system where it doesn't mean anything, because you don't have to repackage anything. You don't have to worry about sending anything back. I'm the one that's bearing the burden of the download. I'm the one that's spending the money. I'm the one that's thinking it sucks. So what really is it to anybody except a transaction fee, a slight transaction fee at that, I don't know. I just, as long as everything returns to normal, and since it can take place in a relatively short amount of time, it doesn't have to be billed that particular moment, but it usually does. Even bulk purchases happen, like when you bulk a transaction, a big puddle of transactions take place at the end of that work day, that business day. They could delay that and wait until the minimum time frame is passed, and that's when they bill. But it's very frustrating to sit there and have this old world mentality that you can't return software. It just doesn't work that way anymore, not in this day and age. So in essence, anyone publishing a game on Steam now has access to a questionnaire where they tick boxes for the accessibility features their games have. Got adjustable text size? Tick the box. Got narrated menus? Tick the box. Colorblind options? Tick the box, and so on and so forth. And you can find a full list of the accessibility options that devs will be able to choose below. And you can actually see that list. I say go and check this out. This is pretty neat. Audio, visual, input, all are have checkboxes. Gameplay, like adjustable difficulty and save anytime. Sometimes that saving thing is a real pain in the butt, but I think it's brilliant. So good on them. Steam, once again, kind of solving the real problem, you know? All right. Next article is over in Technology Today, which is one of our weekend shows. Major breakthrough, non-toxic alternative to forever chemicals discovered. Scientists have developed a non-toxic alternative to harmful PFAS chemicals using carbon and hydrogen-based compounds, offering a safer solution for products that currently rely on fluorine. An international team of scientists has developed a safer alternative to perfluoroalkyl substances. A group of synthetic chemicals commonly used in everyday products for their water and stain resistance, fire, etc. University of Bristol put the article together. It's published over at SciTech Daily. Let's see how fast I can actually get through this. Until recently, fluorine, an essential component of PFAS, was thought to be irreplaceable due to its unique ability to create strong water-repellent barriers. Its exceptional performance stems from its small size and high electronegativity, which allow it to form tight, durable molecular structures, basically preventing things like liquids from penetrating the surface. So they've discovered, these researchers from University of Bristol discovered that fluorine's distinct bulky spatial characteristics, which help it occupy molecular space so effectively, can be mimicked using non-toxic alternatives. This breakthrough could pave the way for safer, more environmentally friendly, I wouldn't say environmentally friendly materials that perform similarly to traditional PFAS without the associated risks. There's much more to this article, but there's really no need to get all into it. They just say that through extensive experimentation, it turns out that these bulky fragments feature in other common chemical systems like fats and fuels. If they are a fuel that's built off of oil and fats, which is based off of a biological process, just like oil is, they are going to have a shelf life and break down, whereas the fluorine may not break down at the same speed. So I have a problem looking at this as maybe it has a shelf life, which the industry isn't going to really like, or it is, because people will have to buy the item again after a certain amount of time. So we'll have to look into it and see. They say, using our specialized laboratories for chemical synthesis, we substituted the fluorine and PFAS with certain groups containing only carbon and hydrogen, which is watering down the idea that it might be a biological chemical chain, which will break down faster than fluorine. I can almost guarantee it. The whole process has taken about 10 years, and the implications are very significant, not least because PFAS is used in so many different products and situations. So if it's cost effective and it forces customers to repurchase something that loses its water protection and other protections, then maybe the industry will eat it up. Customers won't. All right, the next article is over in Reality Hacker. Finland could be the first country in the world to bury nuclear waste permanently. That's right. In March, Finland successfully completed the first test of its encapsulation plant, which, if finished, it doesn't say it has been finished, will become the world's first permanent underground storage facility for radioactive waste. From the Earth it comes, so shall it return. Since the arrival of nuclear power in the 50s, more than 400 reactors in 31 countries have produced about 430,000 metric tons of spent nuclear fuel. Until now, no one has developed a permanent solution for disposing of it. The IAEA, which once scoffed at a solution that they still haven't been able to deploy, a successful protection of the sarcophagus around Chernobyl. Says that it estimates about 30% of this fuel has been reprocessed. Elements in spent fuel can be recycled to create new fuel for nuclear plants, but the rest has to be parked in temporary storage systems with its final destination yet to be determined. So we've been doing that since the 50s, and some of it isn't glassified or encapsulated in some way to prevent it from degrading and even leaking at times. With the nuclear sector showing signs of undergoing a renaissance as countries look to decarbonize energy production, I still think that nuclear is woefully misunderstood because we use it simply to heat up essentially water and turn steam engines. It's just a heat engine. That's it. It's just a steam engine turning turbines. It's ridiculous. Oh, look, they even mentioned Chernobyl in this article. That's funny. Or they have a video about Chernobyl. So the best solution would be to put spent fuel in an underground facility that can contain it safely for millennia. Spent fuel is a major threat to human health for at least 10,000 years and remains radioactive for several millennia. But such facilities have to be built from scratch, and several are being developed. None have been completed. The leader is Finland, and they're going to be burying this stuff at a depth of 430 meters. Testing is underway. Storage of spent fuel involves placing spent fuel rods inside copper canisters, which in turn have to be inserted into slots dug into the granite walls of the subterranean repository. Everything is then sealed with bentonite, a soft plastic clay that insulates the containers and acts as a buffer against minor movements in the bedrock. Bentonite is it's used in farming and stuff. I use it. I used to use it in my hydroponic system in little bundles so that I could grow stuff hydroponically. But I got rid of all soil in my hydroponics. So yeah, I just use a cloth mesh and everything grows through that and it stabilizes my microgreens. Anyway, in mid-March, 5 test containers filled with non-radioactive materials were sealed in a special above-ground facility before being transported underground and stored in a 70-meter-long subterranean tunnel to provide an initial proof of concept for Onkalov's storage process. The completion of this dummy run puts Finland in the lead to race to build the world's first operational deep geological repository. I'm really curious if anybody has researched if we dump this stuff into a lava field, a subsurface lava field where we can just kind of push the rods down. And I know that it's all under pressure and all of that kind of stuff. It's one of those comments where you go, there's no feasible way to do this, but I wonder if anybody has looked at the theory of letting the earth just boil the hell out of this radioactive material because it's all from Earth. Maybe we can just kind of smelt it back into its various components. I don't know. I love the idea of it, but maybe somebody's done this research and it just would never work. Just kind of put it at the end of a rod and then just push the rod down into the mantle. I know it's really far down and all that kind of stuff, but look for a magma chamber and just kind of push that in there and hope that the pressure doesn't blow it back out and shoot a nuclear rod into orbit or something. I don't know. I love the idea of it. I'd suggest writing for NaNoWriMo a story about that and seeing if it turns into Terminator or The Matrix or whatever and make it really sci-fi-y, but NaNoWriMo seems to have wet the bed. We'll see. Anyway, let's keep moving. The next article is over in Warcrafters. The core of the new Dungeons & Dragons rules have been released into the Creative Commons, so you can use them when you publish your own D&D material. Last year, Wizards of the Coast announced that when the 3 core books that formed Dungeons & Dragons updated in 2024 rule set were out, the essence of those rules, the System Reference Document, or SRD, would be made available under a Creative Commons license. And now it has. It's a big deal because D&D's 5th edition rules, SRD, was previously available under the terms of the Open Gaming License, or OGL. It was potentially subject to revision, letting the basics of the most popular tabletop RPG be used by third-party developers who could sell their creations and retain the rights. Well, they wet the bed, really bad press, reputational hit, et cetera, et cetera. So it says Jody McGregor's article over at PCGamer.com has the deck statement that says Volo's latest magnum opus can see print at last. So more niche publications like Weekend at Strahd's and the Uncaged series were made possible by this open gaming license. But when a draft of a possible restructure of the OGL leaked a couple of years ago, the community reacted with outrage, and rightfully so, because they basically were making a money grab at other people's creative efforts, even in light of the fact that they made the terms an open gaming license. It's kind of absurd that they would kind of renege on this. But this is something that I talk to people about regularly, that copyright can be revoked, shut down, and but not retroactively applied. So if you today say, okay, I'm canceling the license for the OGL, as of this date, nobody can use those terms except for the people who have already been developing material under that OGL. That license still stays with that product still in place. Arguably, I'm sure people can, a company can sue, but it's going to be very expensive, and who knows if you'll actually come out. It'll be piecemeal. Anyway, it gets really complicated from that simple statement. So SRD 5.2 also includes more stuff than SRD 5.1 did. It contains multiple feats rather than just one, for starters. It also includes the 2024 update Weapon Masteries, 20 more spells, 15 magic items, rules for playing a goblin not goblin, but a Goliath or orc, and a bunch of additional monsters. The 2024 version of the monster manual added a fun rule where the troll's arm or leg could get cut off mid-fight and keep attacking you, which is now part of the SRD. So it's releasing the SRD version 5.2 under Creative Commons, specifically Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 International License, which means that it can't be taken back. And publishers, third-party publishers, citing it only need to include a single sentence rather than a whole chunk of text the OGL required. What that is probably that it carves out that Wizards of the Coast owns the blah, blah, blah. So it says it's a 361-page PDF, and if you're not looking to create your own D&D material, it would just like to learn how to play. Wizards of the Coast also updated the new D&D Beyond Basic rules. To give you a way in, say, if you've put 100 hours into Baldur's Gate 3 and would like to take this thing out for a spin around town with your friends, it says here in this article. So Jody McGregor put an article together about all of this, and you can read more by going over to PC Gamer. Okay, we've got 3 more articles, and then we're done. This next article is over on Rounders Gear, and I'm going to be quick about this one because they say FAA says it's fixed the Vegas airport issues that increase risk of mid-air plane helicopter collisions. FAA said it corrected several immediate safety issues with Harry Reid International Airport 3 weeks ago. The issues increased the likelihood of mid-air collisions between passenger planes and tourist helicopters, according to the FAA. And they said that their fixes resulted in a 30% reduction in collision avoidance alerts. Only 30%, though. I think they need to make the rule so that there are 0 warnings. The issues were identified in the aftermath of the collision of American Eagle Flight 5342, which with an Army Black Hawk at Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport on January 29th, which killed 78 people. The tragedy resulted in a nationwide review of U.S. airports with heavy helicopter traffic. Harry Reid was singled out during the review as maintaining a routine lack of compliance with rules for keeping the aircraft separate. Like, helicopters should not be crossing traffic with airplanes. An airplane should have the right of way no matter what. Poof, off they go. They can't pivot the way that a helicopter can. So airplanes should probably have the right of way, and helicopters should get the hell out of there. Stay in opposite direction. So it says they put some things in place, ensuring helicopters don't get too close to departing and arriving flights. The FAA also said that it now requires Las Vegas air traffic controllers to issue more traffic advisories between planes and returning tourist helicopters. Hell, they should have completely unique method or channels for delivery, flight paths to deliver their customers back to the tarmac instead of crossing paths in any way, shape, or form. So the article is over at casino.org as well, because it involves Las Vegas. Corey Levitan put the article together. And yeah, they've got more information over there, but that 30% reduction in collision avoidance alerts is really just fascinating, because you would think there shouldn't be any collision avoidance alerts at all, because everybody has already been aligned to avoid the possibility of a collision. But what do I know? The next article is over in Technology Today. Plug and Play selects 10 startups for their first accelerator program out of a new Seattle location. This is by Kurt Schlosser over at geekwire.com. And I don't know if they have all 10 of these, but Flix Technologies, Expanso, Load, Infinity Loop, which is interesting that they're over in... I've heard of them before. I think they're in Virginia or something like that. Infinity Loop revolutionizes B2B software as a service, offering a comprehensive platform that streamlines third-party contract negotiations. But Infinity Loop, I thought, was something else, so it's not that company. Aerovi, Motley Bio, Shield AI, SHYLD. So I love these kind of spelling bee type business names. Myriad, CodeMod Incorporated automates large code migrations with advanced AI. So AI is really taking the lead still, but this is a tiny little baby standing up for the first time, and soon it'll be running and taking everybody's job. And then Nexa is the last one on this list. If you want to learn more about these companies, go over to geekwire.com and do a search for Plug and Play selects 10 startups for first accelerator program out of new Seattle location. And finally, our last article is, what the hell? Sure, why not? Toys R Us is getting a movie. Possibly the most shocking part of this news is that it isn't a horror movie. If you've ever been in a Toys R Us before they actually shut down, they were stuck in the 70s, even in 2025. I think the last one closed in like 2023 or something like that. Justin Carter over at Gizmodo.com put the article together. It says, yes, really, per Variety, the toy store chain is coming to the silver screen courtesy of Story Kitchen, the studio behind several recent game adaptations. The apparent idea here is to make something in the vein of Night at the Museum and Big and other recent toy related hits like Barbie. At the moment, the film is in early development. But producers Dimitri M. Johnson and Mike Goldberg are already talking with filmmakers about the project. Johnson and Goldberg co-founded Story Kitchen, called Toys R Us, a cultural touchstone that continues impacting the child in all of us today. So I don't know how much this is going to be. It was founded in 1948, probably stayed there in all of its existence. It went defunct in 2018 to be revived in 2021, mainly as a subsection of Macy's. That said, that is the last of our articles, so we are all done, and I'm getting out of here, so thanks for hanging out. We are going to go into the time machine, within the time machine, just to get to Toys R Us, and that'll bring us back to the front page of ohmtown.com. We always have a way to get back to the front page. And that's it. So we'll see you later. Bye-bye.